Recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Levin, for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I promise I feel better than I sound. My voice has been gone since last night, but I do genuinely look forward to working with you, finding areas of common ground here in the new Congress. I know that we won't agree on everything, but I do know that there will be things that we can agree on. Thank you for the Arkansas spring water as well. That did not go unnoticed. But I really wanted to take a minute and discuss how we can responsibly and sustainably deploy energy on our public lands. I agree that we need to do that. And as we've discussed today, public lands and waters are managed for multiple uses: energy development, mining, recreation, and grazing. But I believe strongly that we have this opportunity to focus not on more record profits for the oil and gas industry for its own sake, but instead to actually prioritize our public lands for purposes that spur on the renewable energy development we're going to need in the coming decades. I would hope that we could all come together to do that. We've got to minimize conflicts, we've got to support timely decision-making, and we've got to engage in very important land use planning as part of a smart siting effort to identify areas of high renewable energy potential and the lowest environmental friction. And this is all bipartisan policy, and it has been since I've been in Congress. We can responsibly improve the permitting process for clean energy and climate solutions. We can also ensure the meaningful engagement of environmental justice communities, and I share the comments of my friend from New Mexico and applauding your being here. It's why I introduced something called the Public Land Renewable Energy Development Act in the last two Congresses, or PLREDA for short. It would codify a smart from the start approach to renewable energy development, and it includes measures to facilitate investment in high-quality renewable sources to ensure fair revenue for impacted communities and to minimize impacts to wildlife and to cultural sites. Mr. Sandberg, and again, forgive my voice, I'm grateful for ACP's support on PLREDA. Could you discuss how the legislation would help increase clean energy on public lands while still maintaining thorough environmental and community protections?
Thank you for the question. And as you've outlined, PLREDA is a great first step to help us develop renewables on federal lands. And as you said, focusing on high quality resources in low impact areas. So mitigating wildlife impacts, cultural sites, those types of things. And I think that this bipartisan effort can yield good results. As you know, and as we've discussed with your office, since 2015, there's been a very little development, renewable development on federal lands, while there's been a boom on private lands. And so I think there is a great ability and opportunity to expedite and use those resources on federal lands.
And one of the core principles of the legislation is smart from the start planning. Do you agree that's the best planning approach for balancing renewable energy with all the other uses of our public lands, and if so, why?
So we support many of the provisions in your bill, and as part of that, I think that this permitting process and the processes laid out in PLREDA are a fantastic first step in that process, and we look forward to working with you in this Congress to advance those.
Appreciate that very much, and I would just close, Mr. Chairman, by saying we can spend the next 2 years yelling and screaming at each other and focusing on all that we disagree about. I don't think it's the best use of our time. I don't think it's what our constituents expect, and I think it's incumbent on every one of us here to find areas of common ground and try to move the ball forward in a positive way for our country. So with that, I'll yield back. Sorry, caught you in transition.